My fiancé and I are high school sweethearts, and we've been together for about 12 years. We were engaged for around 3 when he passed away due to an accident in the beginning of 2020. A few weeks ago, his brother came to visit me, and he's planning to propose to his girlfriend. He asked me if he could have the family's engagement ring. The ring my fiancé gave me is a family ring which had been in the family for generations. I have been wearing this ring for almost 3 years, and it's a symbol of our relationship. I don't feel ready to give it up. When I told him this, he got upset and said it's a family ring and it belongs to him now that his brother is dead. I told him to get out. I called his mom to let her know why I wanted to keep the ring. She told me she wouldn't have minded if I had been married to him, but I wasn't, so I'm not part of the family, and therefore I should return the ring. She said I'll move on one day, and it's unfair to hold on to a ring that I will never wear again, especially a ring that belongs to her family for generations. I would have at least considered giving back the ring in a few years. I just can't bear the thought of parting with this ring now. So I told her I'm sorry that she felt that way, but her son gave me this ring and I'm not giving it back. Since then, his mom and his brother have been spamming my phone with messages and calls about how I'm trying to steal their family ring. So, am I wrong for wanting to keep the ring? This is an ongoing mess that continues to haunt me. My sister is recently engaged to her boyfriend of many years. He proposed to her at one of our family barbecues, and I was really happy for them until I saw the ring. My sister had hinted that her and her boyfriend were discussing tying the knot, and we discussed rings at length. I went online and searched for the type of ring she said she was interested in, and happened across a very unique and pretty ring on Etsy, but it had a fake middle stone. As soon as I saw the ring, I recognized it. Everyone knows they're supposed to spend at least 3 to 4 months pay on an engagement ring. He has a good paying job, and 4 months wages for him would be at least 8 to 10K at an estimate. I know for a fact that this ring was $450. I waited until the proposal was over and asked the couple for a quiet word, but that had the opposite effect as I was overheard by the entire family. I told my sister I had seen her ring online and it wasn't a real diamond or even expensive. I accused her boyfriend of trying to cheap out of one of the most important gifts of her entire life. She burst into tears and said she gave him a budget of $400. She didn't want a real diamond. She's lost every piece of jewelry she's owned, and she didn't want to be devastated by losing this if she ever does. Thought I was doing my sisterly duty by pointing out the fake ring. Am I the asshole for telling my sister? I'm a senior in high school and I have a stepsister who is the same age as me. My mom and her dad have been married since we were 10. We both started school again yesterday. A couple of hours into my online class, my mom comes to my room to talk to me. She said that since I have more than enough money to put myself through college, how would I feel about sharing some of that money with my stepsister who does not have enough money? I lost my paternal grandparents 3 years after I lost my dad, so I inherited a lump sum of money. My mom and stepdad had saved some money, but a few crappy things happened to our house, so now apparently there's not enough for my stepsister to go to college. But I don't feel responsible to put her through college. I also don't feel like my paternal relative's money that's now mine should be used for her. She was nothing to them, and if we're being real, we have no relationship beyond living in the same house either. I told my mom no. She said she was disappointed in me. Later on that night, my mom and her husband pulled me into the kitchen to discuss some things. They told me I'm being selfish and that she's my sister. I said even if she is my sister, it's not my job to help her through college, and that's my money, and it will not be used for something I do not approve of. Apparently, I'm the asshole for refusing, according to them. So it got me thinking, did I help my stepsister out? My boyfriend of 4 years proposed to me. I was extremely shocked because our relationship has been rocky the past year. As surprising as it is, I still felt overwhelmed with joy and excitement. He seemed thrilled and even had tears in his eyes while asking. I felt so emotional. The person I had loved for 4 years had asked me to marry them. But the thought of the randomness of the proposal couldn't leave my head. I practically slept on separate couches for the past 3 months. It was unsettling and confused me. Fast forward to the day after Valentine's Day and my fiancé breaks down and tells me that he can't marry me. He said it wouldn't be right and he wouldn't be doing it for the right reasons. I was confused and lost, and all I could do was question him about why he proposed and make me so happy. Finally, he confessed to me that my parents offered him $100,000 if he would propose to me. My family is decently well off, and they promised him that after marriage he would be well taken care of and won't have any struggle. This was something that he said he couldn't turn down, but he felt wrong and sick about living a lie. I went to confront my parents and they claimed it was true, but they only did it for my happiness since it's something they knew I wanted so bad. Am I the asshole for not continuing a relationship with my parents? My sister-in-law and I have an agreement where she watches the kids 3 days a week and I watch hers 3 days a week. A couple of weeks ago we had an argument, and the next day I brought my kids to her house and dropped them off and left. When I got to work, I had 20 missed calls, all from my sister-in-law saying I need to pick up the kids because she doesn't want to watch them due to our fight. And I had 45 minutes to get there or else she'll call the cops. It took me about an hour to get back to her house, but she already called the cops, so I had to stick around long enough to tell the officer that I didn't abandon my children. It was just miscommunication. I have since arranged for other childcare for my kids, and I've been mostly ignoring her. However, she reached out and apologized and has asked if I'd be willing to go back to the old childcare arrangement. I work with kids. If I got abandonment on my record, I would never work in my field again, which she knew, and her calling the police was a massive overreaction. She said that if I checked my phone, talked to her that morning, or came back when I was supposed to, she would not have needed to call the police, and I did this to myself. I've told her that if she thinks I'm babysitting for her, she's delusional and she's on her own. Because of my refusal, it's looking like she may need to quit her job because my brother and her would pay more for a babysitter than they would earn from her working. My mom and brother are calling me an asshole because there was no consequence to her calling the police.
Part 2 about how my gym teacher's wife found out that he was having an affair with me. So like I said, his wife was supposed to be gone the whole night because she was at the bar with her friends and they were supposed to get in a hotel. So he invited me over. So we went swimming in his pool, then we did the nasty. Well, a few hours later, him and I were sitting on the couch watching a movie. And his wife kept calling him. But he just kept ignoring it, saying that she was fine and he didn't want to answer the call and ruin our time together. So we go upstairs, lay down to go to sleep. And it's like 4 a.m. at this point. So I shit you not, literally an hour later, I wake up to his wife carefully shaking me to wake me up. She goes, honey, come downstairs. I don't want to wake him up. He has work tomorrow. And I'm like, what the actual fuck? So I went downstairs and she's like, sit at the table with me. So we're sitting at the table and she's like, I hope that we can keep this quiet. She was like, my husband's done this before. And that she can't have any of her friends knowing or anybody at school because she's a PTA mom. So she offered me money to keep my mouth shut. And then she let me go back upstairs and lay with him. What the fuck?
Let me tell y'all about one of the most craziest things that has ever happened to me. So it was cuffing season or whatever. Me and my friend had both recently gotten into relationships. Well, for me, it wasn't exactly a relationship. It was kind of just dating. They had suggested, why don't we go on a double date? I'm not a very big fan of double dates, but I was like, whatever. We can do it this one time. We all agreed to meet up at the movies. So I get to the movies and I see my date walking inside. It's weird because he had texted me earlier and told me that he was going to be late. I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. But I go inside and I catch up to him. I go up to him and I'm like, hey, what's going on? He just stares at me. He's looking mad confused. And he's like, oh, I'm good, but where's your friend? And I'm looking at him like, what you asking about her for? Like, I'm not standing right here in front of you looking all cute. What you asking about her for? You know what? I let it go. I'm like, let's just go get snacks. So we get into the line to buy snacks. My best friend walks in. I'm like, hey girl, I kid you not, this was her exact reaction. And then she proceeds to grab my man and kiss him.
Story time. I babysat a lot of kids in my neighborhood, and there was this one night that I was babysitting a 2-year-old. It was around 10 o'clock at night, so the kid was sleeping, and I was just sitting in the living room. In the living room, there was a big TV, a couch, and then behind me, it was a wall with a giant window. So it was really late at night, I had nothing to do, so I was Snapchatting my friends. If you Snapchat anybody, I'm sure you know that sometimes you Snapchat really fast. You don't even know or look at what you're sending. I was mass snapping all my friends, and then one of them replied 10 minutes later, and he said, who's that guy behind you? And I turned around and no one was there, so I'm like, he's playing a joke on me. But then I get another Snapchat from this friend I had, and she lives all the way across the country. They don't know each other. And she said, I think there's someone else.
So I had gotten a crush on the quiet kid at school, and I invited him over. And things started to get weird when I cut my knee open and he licked the blood off my knee and said that it tasted good. So anyways, we're in our kitchen and we're just making food. And he's petting my dog, telling me how much he loves my dog. And I turn around for 2 seconds. And I wish to God I can make this up. I turn around and he has a knife to my dog's neck. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm just joking with you, ha 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 ha. So I grabbed the knife from him and I put it back where it belongs. And I'm like, okay, let's go out on my trampoline. Reminder, at this point, it was pitch black outside. So we're jumping on my trampoline when I feel something hit me in the face. So I look at him and then he starts beating me up. And I'm not talking play fighting. This kid is genuinely beating me up. So I'm standing there in shock when he gives me another whack to the face.
This is why you should think twice about letting kids stay home alone. I lived in a small village where everyone knows everyone and I could count the amount of houses on 2 hands. Nothing ever happened there, proper out in the stick stuff. One night, a few years ago, my mom and stepdad had gone out for this concert. They left me in charge of my little brother and dog. I was around 14 years old and I felt really proud that my parents trusted me enough to do that. I thought I was a cool sibling and an even cooler babysitter by staying up late, eating pizza, etc. Around 10:30 p.m. the power cut out. I didn't think anything of it because the weather hadn't been great lately and I figured that had something to do with it. I got some candles out of the cupboard and lit them, then put on some of our favorite songs. As soon as I sat back down, my little brother Sonny turned to me being the weird little kid that he was and told me in the calmest way possible that there was someone outside. I was a little unsettled by this, but our dog hadn't done anything, so I assumed it was just the neighbors. Sonny just shrugged and went back to his drawings. It was about 45 minutes after the power went out and I knew my dog needed to go out to do business. I told Sonny to grab him a biscuit while I let him out. When I opened the door, Sonny pushed past me and said, I know you're out there and I'm calling the police. That's when I hear rustling from just above the doorway. When I looked up, I was terrified to see a man staring at me.
I am going to be telling you the story of the Silent Twins by the names of June and Jennifer Gibbons. When the girls were toddlers, they barely ever talked. But the pediatrician said that it was common for twins to be behind in communication skills compared to other children. By the time they were in elementary school, they would only say one-word sentences every couple days. Jennifer would write at the level she was supposed to, but June would not. They started to be bullied in school for not talking, which led them to become so quiet they stopped talking to their family. The mother would listen in on them, and she could hear them constantly talking to each other behind closed doors. So they could talk, but the parents said it sounded like a foreign language. They then started walking in a single line with each other. They looked exactly matched up. The feet hitting the ground at the same time, the arms swinging at the same time. They would stand up and sit down at the same time. Each bite of food and each drink would be taken at the same time. They were perfectly mirroring each other in every single movement. Stay tuned for part 2.
Guys, my name's Jill, and for today's video, I want to tell you the story about the time where I literally was convinced that I was going to die at school last year. Okay, it was crazy. So I was with my 2 friends, Iz and Amber. We were just chilling in Iz's car. So we all had an open 4th period. So we are just going to sit in the parking lot for the next 45 minutes till the period is over, like we always did. But all of a sudden, we saw a fire truck and 6 police cars come racing about with their lights on, and they parked in front of our school, and we were all like, what the heck? We were kind of freaked out, but there was no one else in the parking lot, so we didn't know what to do. We kind of just kept sitting there, I guess. But little did we know that everyone inside the school was on lockdown because there was a man on campus who had just stolen the car, and he was armed with a gun, just walking around campus. And while we were sitting in his car, this man with the gun comes up to our car, starts knocking on our window, and tries to get into our car. And of course, Izzy was freaked out, so she backs up as fast as she possibly can, and we ended up just spending the rest of the day at our house because we're not about to go back to school. But I'm very glad that nothing happened, but I literally saw my life flash before my eyes. Okay, maybe it sounds dramatic, but it was very scary. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed.